Hey guys, it's Steven here. Just wanted to make another review reaction video. Cowboys Rams. Just had another opportunity to review game notes and go over some things I saw, and wanted to discuss, just breaking things down. But before we get into that, I wanted to start off with a question, and my question is, where does everyone fall on Jason Garrett long term? And the reason why I ask this is because, in my opinion, I don't believe he's the answer to us winning a Super Bowl from a head coaching perspective. I really don't. I've never been a firm Jason Garrett supporter. Obviously, I was a lot more negative before the 2014 season. After 3 straight 8-8 years, I thought a lot of coaches wouldn't have gotten that privilege, but he had all the right ends with the right people, namely Jerry Jones, and was able to continue. But at this point, even as the team has gotten better, thanks to Will McClay and Stephen Jones and all of our awesome scouts, we haven't gotten better in the coaching department. We have never been known as the X and O team that's going to dial stuff up and get people wide open, and even defensively, we haven't schemed up anything sophisticated defensively on a regular basis since Wade left. And I like Coach Marinelli, but he's more of a technique, try hard coach that's going to get the best out of his players. He's not necessarily a guy that's going to see something on film and just exploit it and do some leagues that teams are going to copycat off of us schematically. And that's one of the questions that you got to ask yourself is, when was the last time you saw somebody copycat us for something innovative that we were doing? If the league's copycatting us is, basically how we built our offensive line, and we're kind of playing 90s football right now, which is great when you're getting, great blocking and getting that push. But right now, and that's where I go back to Jason Garrett. I think Monday through Friday, he's a good culture guy. And obviously off-field stuff, not, that's also taken into consideration, which is why he's good, not great. But I think he's gotten better with even time management during the games. But with all that being said, you look at Green Bay last year, we weren't ready to play. He did not know how to handle a bye week situation, how to get the team ready to play against a team that was coming off of basically hot, hadn't lost in almost 2 months, and no wrinkles, ready to go. And I'm starting to see some recurring issues that are becoming bad habits with this football team that aren't being addressed for whatever reason. Let's even go to the defensive side of the ball. And I know that's Rod's baby, but as a head coach, Jason Garrett is responsible and has to be held accountable for that. And I think philosophically, we're not running the best defense we possibly could to help supplement our offense. This bend don't break mentality, this cover to Tampa 2 shell, this isn't the best version of it either, because if you look at teams that have won with the Tampa 2, they've had a stud on every level. Even going back to the, Simeon Rice, Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, John Lynch, Ronnie Barber. Those teams were built level to level to level, elite players, great talent, cultivated, and we're not there defensively. The only person that could even sniff any of those guys is Sean Lee, and he can't stay healthy. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with not getting pressure. It leaves us with sitting in zone and getting picked apart by a guy who was a cast-off last year. And look, I'm not going to judge Jared Goff because, as I pointed out in my earlier video, he's been resurrected with what? Good coaching. Sean McVay is an innovator. Jason Garrett got coach circles around a 31-year-old rookie head coach. Somebody that knew him very well because of, obviously his ties to the Redskins. But still, at some point, you have to incorporate innovative concepts to help your team out and help your guys out as people get familiar with player tendencies and exactly what y'all like to do, which is why I'm such a fan just from a football perspective of Andy Reid, just watching the Chiefs and Redskins game tonight. The Chiefs may run the same play 10 times, but they'll make it look. They have 90 ways to make it look different. Their window dressing on their plays, the motion, the movement, the things that they do to help their quarterback out. They don't have the greatest offensive line in the world, but they're always on time and they always are able to create space for their playmakers. That is the biggest thing I see that we're struggling with in this Dallas offense. We can't create space for any of our playmakers, whether it's Zeke, Dak, Cole, Terrence. Everything we're getting right now is off schedule. Dak scrambling, breaking the pocket, which is great. He's developed that part of his game this year, which I don't think he's getting enough credit for because we're only 2-2 right now. Some of the throws he's made on the run have been Aaron Rodgers-esque. The issues that I'm seeing just going into the Dak stuff with his accuracy, and I had mentioned that earlier in the previous video. I think he's uncomfortable in the pocket because our offensive line has not been super great, and I think it's starting to get to him mentally, where he's not stepping into throws. There's some plays where I'm seeing some footwork issues, and I know his footwork wasn't perfect last year, but he was comfortable. And when you're comfortable, you're going to deliver the football with confidence. Confidence normally leads to better accuracy. Right now, he's throwing a lot off his back foot in certain situations, and certain tendencies where his footwork's not right, it's causing the ball to go high. And you're seeing that a lot, especially when he's throwing to Dez Bryant. I thought Dez had a much better game this week. Obviously, he still had a couple drops and needs to help the quarterback out, Terrence as well. But Dak's got to be sharper. He's got to be sharper, especially from the pocket. Our play action game is somewhat coming along. I'm starting to see a little bit more zone read. But again, there's not enough sophistication and innovation in our offense to throw teams off. When I'm watching the game, just sitting on my couch as a fan, I know exactly what's coming in certain situations. And that goes back to Jason Garrett, who's a former offensive coordinator. You're supposed to be this Princeton genius that was a hot head coaching candidate back when you were available, still the highest paid offensive coordinator. I remember Baltimore Ravens wanted you, all these teams, and I'm not seeing it, and I haven't seen it. Being frank with you, and what suggests that Jason Garrett has earned the right to foster the next part of Dak Prescott's career? He was with Tony that whole time. They didn't win anything. They won nothing. And I put that on Jason Garrett. I mean, I really would have loved to see Tony Romo work with somebody like Andy Reid, or work with just a young, innovative mind. Even at the time before the Redskins got somebody like Jay Gruden. Just a different mind. I know Tony and Jason had a very, very close relationship that was, almost to the point where they were inseparable. But, geez, man, like we had no. I'm so frustrated I can't even get the words out when I talk about Jason, because I do like him as a person and what he does for guys. Being that stable voice and being that steady hand, at least from what we see on the sidelines and in practices. But at the end of the day, you're there to win games. This team is set up to win games. This team is too talented for us to be having the conversations that we're having right now. Period, case closed. Starts and ends with Jason Garrett. He has to be held accountable, because this isn't going to get easier. We have Green Bay coming up this week. And I mentioned Green Bay earlier. We weren't ready to play them in that playoff game. Again, they made adjustments. Mike McCarthy being obviously a better X and O guy than Jason, and even Rod Marinelli to a degree. Rod Marinelli's that raw motivation guy. He's not like Wade was, where Wade is going to dial something up that have something special like he did in that Saints game one year. And I know we had our problems, and Wade was never a great head coach, but from an X and O standpoint, that was one period of time where I can honestly say we were on the verge of having an elite defense. And who's to say just because you have these offensive weapons doesn't mean you still can't try to put together and field a very good to elite defense. Stop leaning on this bend don't break excuse and trying to filter it with different parts and whatnot. And I know we drafted real heavy this past draft, but it takes time. Like all these guys, it's unfair of us to now ask Xavier Woods to go and start at safety because we thought it was a good idea to let Jeff Heath just, take over for Barry Church and who at best is a core special teamer. That's unacceptable. That's a poor evaluation on behalf of the coaching staff and the front office as well in that regard. I had my concerns about linebacker. We're relying on somebody coming back from a catastrophic knee injury. We're relying on somebody else who is consistently injured in Sean Lee, who's a great player, but always injured. I mentioned Jalen Smith earlier with the catastrophic knee injury. Hitchens is gone. Who else do you have? Subpar players. Damian Wilson, Justin Durant, subpar players. I was talking to my brother the other day. He's just like, these guys suck. I mean, it's not. I'm not trying to, stop. We got to stop beating around the bush. I mean, the only group on defense where I'm seeing where we could have some potentially elite pieces is the defensive line, which, I don't even know if they got Jared Goff on the ground on Sunday. It was actually more frustrating afterwards watching it and reviewing the tape and going over all these things than immediately after the game. I still felt optimistic and good about things. Honestly, looking at some of these things and looking at who's coming up, I am very, very concerned. The only thing that gives me hope is that I don't think the league in general is very good right now. I think there's only a handful of competent teams that I've seen put together good football over the past 4 weeks. I think the Chiefs are the only undefeated team. I mean, freaking teams like the Jets are 2-2. All these teams that weren't expected to do anything and teams that were expected to be great. The Giants 0-4. So I think that alone will keep us going throughout the season despite a tough schedule. Why I'm still optimistic, but ultimately, this team is almost on the verge of Super Bowl or bust, the way it's built, and Jason Garrett ain't gonna get us there. And sometimes you need to change up that head coach to get you over the hump. We've seen that in sports before. Teams making that change, that one last piece. The Bulls getting Phil Jackson over Doug Collins. Even Tampa Bay, Tony Dungy to John Gruden. Sometimes you need that change up to be the difference in you continuing where you are and eventually missing your window, or you ascending to where and getting the most out of that talent. So we'll see what happens. I'll probably make another NFL recap video. I know I've been Cowboys heavy, but that's what's been on my mind as a Cowboys fan. Just really frustrated with how things are going. Got to get back on track. I'm not even going to address the Ryan Switzer stuff right now. He's got to be better on special teams. I think it was worth my time to get too much into that. We already know what it is. Can't muff punts. But that was just another random tidbit I wanted to throw in there before, since I didn't address it in the previous video. But anyway, want to keep coming back with you guys, keep putting out more and more content, and continue the conversation. Want to continue to grow the channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you, and have a great day.